Hello everyone, my name is TheMadScorpyon and welcome to week 2 of Destiny 2 Revenant. There was a lot of 2s in there. So getting on with it, of course, there has been some changes to the reset as it goes. I will try to keep up with the updates and changes as I can, but try to keep it as simple as possible. So right off the bat, there was a slight update, but the only things to worry about, there's literally 2 things. It was relating to adding Banes into the Nightfall, as well as one other thing I forgot about, but it will be on screen. It wasn't anything monumental exactly, it was just addition of Banes and one other thing that was just, I believe, a fix. But regardless, Vesper's Host Master Mode. You will get a pop-up when you log in this week that says Master Mode isn't available. This will be the source of Artifice Armor from Vesper's Host, but however, unlike usual, it is not where you get the Catalyst from. The Catalyst can be earned from normal mode from secrets and codes. I do not know exactly how, I just know you could have gotten it during the first week when Master Mode was not available. As well, there is new Eververse items that it popped up saying new Eververse items, but I'm pretty sure they appeared as soon as Vesper's Host went live, so I will be making a video separately about all the special new stuff. Regardless, getting into the week at large, we do have an increase in Gambit ranks currently, if you wish to grind out the Gambit ranks. I know the start of a fresh season has a new shader to hunt for, as well as that various insert Gambit-inspired skins for the ritual weapon, which the ritual weapon seemed pretty decent, but I don't know if I'd go through Gambit to get it. Speaking of rituals though, the Nightfall this week is currently the Proving Grounds Nightfall, which in GM is one of the harder ones that I remember in late memory, although the experience will certainly have an easier time with it. There is many ways to just adapt and get used to it. It is not a rough Nightfall in perspective. There is lots of random boss enemies just scattered throughout the strike, but in terms of what you have to do, the most difficult rooms by far would be the tank room, as well as the boss room itself if you don't know how to avoid the fireballs. Regardless, the weapon available is the Scintillation Strand Burst Fusion Rifle, which is an interesting pick for damage options, and especially since Adept Weapons is essentially semi-craftable. It is the offshoot in order to gain access to the brand new versions of perks, the ammo finders, the kind of reworked adept mods, as well as the variety, as not to mention enhancing both perks, which I remember Scintillation having a pretty good pool for options there. The Crucible has currently Class Clash, which I'm assuming is supposed to be just Titans versus Hunters, or Hunters versus Warlocks, or Warlocks versus Titans, or somewhere in between all of that mess. However, the 6v6 is momentum control as well as control, then 3v3 is Rift competitive and the usual Rumble free-for-all for the Crucible folks. The weekly rotation activities. The exotic mission is currently Presage, which is where you would get any of the late Season of the Menagerie or Season of the Haunt items, which is some decent craftable weaponry that I would recommend hunting down. There are some outliers that are not exactly worth it, although things like Callus Mini Tool, as well as other things I cannot remember off the top of my head, that is the only one I can remember. There is some other stuff, not to mention craftable Dead Man's Tale. It may not be the most OP in either the PvE or the PvP space, but it's certainly a fun one, maybe worth getting to mess around. The raids this week are combined Garden of Salvation and King's Fall. Now, you might be eyeing a little bit more of Garden of Salvation because obviously they had a loot refresh, all the weapons are now craftable, and there is memento to earn if you manage to clear through it clean, which that is how you unlock it initially. I'm not sure if that's how you farm it outright, but if you do complete Garden of Salvation without ever hard wiping, you do get access to the new Garden of Salvation emote. So keep in mind with Garden, that means all challenges are active, same with King's Fall. And especially in King's Fall, Master Mode is available, which that is not the case for Garden of Salvation. But with King's Fall, you do have access to the Adept Weapons as well as the Focused Enhanced Armor, which it's not reading exactly what drops from there on my loadout at current, so I'm not sure if it does have a focus as a side effect of just all of the changes to focused raids. But regardless, you do have infinite chances at Touch of Malice if you somehow don't have it as well. The dungeons to combine are 2 that are a bit terrible for either rewards or the play. The first is the Pit of Heresy, which is one of those dungeons right now that is kind of pointless because it does not drop Artifice Armor or an exotic from it is quest-based or words. The exotic is from a quest, so you don't have to run it multiple times to get it to drop. However, at the same time, again, no Artifice Armor, no exclusive rolls. The rolls in the dungeon aren't exactly worth going for, some unique weapons, but otherwise left alone. The Spire of the Watcher, however, is a different case because it does have access to Artifice Armor through its Master Mode. The Master Mode is also where you get the Catalyst for Hierarchy of Needs, which is also the exotic drop that you can farm out multiple times if you are still hunting it. I would recommend getting this one. Hierarchy is a uniquely powerful bow in comparison to other exotic bows. Regardless, though, Spire is one to farm if you need to farm it out. Pit of Heresy, not so much. Although there is 2 Pinnacles on the line, which is needed since Pinnacles did reset. Now, getting into the raids at large. The Salvation's Edge is at capacity, which again, I don't know what that is. That's what I'm just relaying. Crota's End is still bugged for some reason and just not having challenges. I don't know if Bungie just never picked up on this or what, but that's just how it goes. Root of Nightmares is the Crossfire Challenge, which is second encounter. King's Fall is the featured raid, so once again, it is all challenges active. Val Disciple is Defenses Down, which is the third encounter. Vault of Glass is Ensemble's Refrain, which is final boss Atheon encounter. Deepstone Crypt is Red Rover, that is security or the first encounter. Once again, Garden of Salvation is featured, so all challenges are active in there. And Last Wish is the Keep Out Challenge. Now, oddly enough, even though there is 2 master raids available, only one is listed for armor boosting, and that is the Resilience boost in Salvation's Edge. Wrapping it up before we get into the weekly challenges, the last thing to touch on is Dares of Eternity, the expert rounds being Vex, Cabal, and Crota for the final boss. But speaking of the weekly challenges, I keep pressing the wrong buttons to get to them. They are up again and going again. I imagine we'll have another 15 weeks of challenges, so I shall just do my best to keep track of this. Now, it does skip the filler, so I imagine most of this will be finished if you've been hammering out the first week of the season. So there's complete part 2 of Act 1 of Elixir Rescue, which, if you've hammered through the story, should already be done. Then there's Craft Enriching Tonics in Ido's Laboratory, which I'm assuming is just crafting in the rewards-based tonics, and as well Collect Powder, the uncommon reagents used in the Tonics Laboratory, which, again, if you had been hammering out the season, you should already have that done. Then next is the Acoustic Performance for dealing final blows with primary ammo in Gambit, Crucible, or Vanguard Ops activities. Bonus progress for Pulse Rifles, Scout Rifles, or Submachine Guns, as well as defeating Guardians themselves. And lastly, there is the Spark Defender for scoring points in Rift, the Crucible mode. Bonus points granted if you ignite the Rift, aka play the objective. However, from that point, that is pretty much everything having to do with the weekly reset, and now it is time to visit Tess Eververse for the Eververse store in Bright Dust. Now, on the front page, we have Lucid, which is a flashback to Season of the Risen, which I believe this is supposed to be color schemed after Lucent Hive, but I do and don't see it at the same time. When the sun shines, I see a green, but otherwise it's just a gray. Then we also have the Shards of Stillness, which this is from the shader pack from last season. As you can see, it is an animated icy shader. I suppose it's supposed to be stasis related. It seems a bit light to be stasis crystal to me, but otherwise that might just be my eyes tired after the day. Still pretty cool looking, nonetheless. Next is a transmat, the Ossified Entrance from Season of the Chosen. This was, I believe, the Scorpion Tail as a part of the Celestial set that was a part of Constellations, something like that. Regardless, it is a pretty cool looking transmat. Next is Read the Map, an emote from Season of the Splicer, which if I recall... No, I'm thinking of the wrong one. This would have been more appropriate for Season of the Plunder, which was 4 seasons after this one. Regardless, fun little emote. Next is the Wolf-Kissed Greaves. This is the Eververse, how do I say this? Companion set? No. Partnership set. This was a part of the Assassin's Creed Valhalla or the Assassin's Creed armor set that was in the Eververse store during Season 19. If you wish to get it for free and not have to pay silver for it, seems to be running about, and we will be having boots for all the various characters to acquire for Bright Dust for free if you so wish to. In the main store, starting with shaders and transmats, we have Verdigris, which I'm assuming is supposed to be weird Mardi Gras or otherwise, but as you can see, it is a very light cyan greenish tone. It otherwise looking cool, but not really my style, personally. Next is Seven Sisters, which I believe this was supposed to be a Keitel-themed shader from that associated season. I couldn't tell if this was Keitel Military or Keitel herself. Regardless, it seems pretty solid for just a visual that is supposed to be armor. Spark of Joy from just this last season of the Wish, Wish? Yeah, no, that is Wish, which is quite loud. It is white with hot pink, otherwise burning the eyes. And a new one from this associate episode, Masonry, which looks pretty solid. It is just a dark black and a nice shiny gold. I might have to have my buddy Google about this just because of his association. Regardless, the next is the Reef Shimmer into Transmat effects, which is just one, it's a nice purple glow on landing. The Blind Clutch, which is basically just Eris's Rock, the Transmat. Then lastly, the Daito Capsule entrance, which is you popping out of a Daito Capsule. Nothing much else there. For our main ticket items, an exotic emote from just this last season, the Sweetheart Dance, which I'm assuming this was, it's a dance. There's references. If there was one to get, I don't know it. Then the dressing fancy emote, which is just being a distinguished gentleman and putting on a top hat and a bow tie and a monocle and just otherwise being a very distinguished gentleman. Nothing else is too too weird about it, but I think I guess you just keep cleaning the monocle before just kind of ending it. Next is the Cade 6 shell. If you wanted your ghost shell to look just like the gunslinger himself. It's kind of cute considering the hood is more like a shell, but otherwise, you know, repping Cade 6 in the end. Then we have hang on, let me try that again. Keramikos. I'm assuming this was another part of the Greek or ancient Aztec. I forget, it's some sort of ancient civilization bundle that came out last season. This is the jump ship for it, if you wanted to rep a little bit of an ancient civilization look. Speaking of which, the Pack Rat, also from last season. This is a part of the Rat King Sparrow shell and ship bundle, which, per the usual, Sparrows just not seem to want to load. So I'll do my best to either come around to it or just while I'm speaking show an image of it just so you can see exactly what it looks like before, you know, you lose interest. And possibly a good one, the Lost Heir, which is a Gjallarhorn ornament based for the Buried Bloodlines. Now, this came out last season. I believe this was either during an Act 2 or Act 3, or otherwise during whatever seasonal event. I think it was Summer Solstice that was active. Regardless, I forget. In the end, it is still a quite clean-looking look for Buried Bloodlines, especially nailing the Gjallarhorn ornament with the both Gjallarhorn panel as well as various wolves adorned on the crossbow. However, I do prefer Buried Bloodlines in its basic form. That's just me, though. Get this if you wish. And lastly, as always, we have the Eclipsing Projection, which is just a weird moon for your ghost shell. But then again, legitimately, in the comments down below, if anybody has watched this far, let me know, do you even give a crap about ghost projections? I set mine to the Splicer logo ages ago and haven't changed it nearly ever. With that has been the reset update, and with the season being very cut and dry, up to the chase, there was only one seasonal video to make. I know I'm lagging behind it. I made the intro and I need to make the weekly story, but it's just kind of, the slow is there, so I will get it out eventually. With that, my name is TheMadScorpyon. I will see you in the next video.